Good morning, everyone. We'll just give it some time just to let everyone connect. We are live this morning, so I can see everyone entering the webinar. Very nice to have you all here. And everyone is extremely punctual for our 11 a.m. start. So let's kick off because we've got an action-packed hour. Good morning, everyone. My name is Helen Muzzard, and I'm the CMO of IAB Europe. And I'm delighted to welcome you to our webinar this morning, which is a collaborative effort between IAB Europe and GroupM Nexus. So together, we've been embarking on a journey into the captivating realm of digital audio advertising. And we hope that the next hour will provide some great insights into how this emerging channel is providing new and exciting advertising opportunities for all stakeholders. So let's have a look at the agenda and see what's coming up. So first, we will do a deep dive into the latest revelations stemming from our recently unveiled report, The Evolution of Digital Audio Advertising. It's going to be presented by Omri Kadem, and he will unveil the key findings and insights from the report, offering a comprehensive view of the ever-evolving world of audio advertising. And as you will see over the next hour, it definitely is a world that is brimming with opportunities, surprises, and potential. But that's not all. On this journey, we'll not only explore the present, but we're going to be journeying back to 2019 because we first did a report with GroupM then, which was our Programmatic Audio Advertising Report. So we can draw on the comparison between then and now to see how this landscape has evolved in just 4 years. And then after that, we will be welcoming some industry experts for a panel discussion on the findings. So we're very excited to be joined by Anne from Spotify, who I've just found out is streaming live all the way from India. We've got Joakim from GroupM Nexus Sweden, who is streaming live from Sweden. And then we're also going to be welcoming Elsa from Bauer Media, who is based in Finland. So truly European representatives on the webinar today. And as mentioned, we are live today, so we do welcome as much audience participation as possible. We will be having a Q&A session after with the panel at the end. So if you do have any questions for the audience, you'll see at the bottom of the screen, there's a Q&A box. So please do put your questions in there, and then I'll join for the last 10 minutes and I'll ask the panel any questions that you may have for them. The session now is being recorded, and we will post the recording on our website. And if you have registered, obviously you're here, you'll get an email with a link to that and also for the report. So let's kick off and introduce the report. So as mentioned earlier, IAB Europe first started working with GroupM back in 2019, and we produced our first ever study into digital audio advertising. 4 years later, we decided to revisit this area and further understand how the market's evolved and what new opportunities existed for this then considered emerging channel. So in this particular report, we surveyed around 550 buy and sell side digital advertising professionals from over 29 markets. And as many of you will know, it's really hard to find research on audio investment, looking at what the kind of key drivers and barriers are. So we felt that this was an important piece of research for all of our members and the wider industry. After analysing all of the results, we then worked with the GroupM Nexus team to produce a comprehensive report. The report explores the current level of digital audio campaign planning, buying, selling knowledge amongst the buy and sell side stakeholders. It also looks at the current level of digital audio investment, the key formats for investment, and the future growth expectations. And then finally, it looks at the key drivers and barriers to digital audio investment. The report is out now, and we'll be sharing a link at the end of the presentation so that you can access all of the great insights. But we would like to say a big thank you to the GroupM Nexus team for supporting us for this work. It's been a really good partnership, and we're very pleased at how well this has resonated with the industry. Plus, that helped us to better understand this new market. So I'm delighted now to pass over to Omri, who will share some key highlights of the report. So over to you, Omri.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Helen, and welcome everybody to this webinar today. So as mentioned, I'll focus on the most significant findings from the report. I'll guide you through the highlights, exploring the influencing factors behind the industry's evolution, and how these are poised to define the future of digital audio. So this report, of course, has been scripted both by the expertise of the buy side, but also the sell side, making for a compelling narrative, which has set the scene nicely for the panel discussion that follows afterwards. So first up, the current state of the audio market. Next slide. So audio is the sleeping giant of advertising, said Daniel Knapp, chief economist at IAB Europe, in his response to our report findings. I think this statement really accurately captures the stage of maturity that audio is currently going through, and this becomes clear as we explore the state of the market in a bit more detail. So in recent times, audio has experienced exceptional growth, most likely driven by structural advancements in measurement and automation, and coupled with a shift in consumer behavior. This trend is shown in recent data from both GroupM Nexus, GroupM's this year, next year forecast, and also IAB Europe's ADEX benchmark reports. So GroupM's 2023 TYNY global forecast unveiled that in 2022, digital audio grew almost 20%. In addition, according to IAB's ADEX report, from 2018 to 2022, digital audio growth actually outpaced all other channels, growing twice as fast as video did last year. The 2023 report also points out that markets with substantial investment in traditional radio, such as Ireland, Belgium, Germany, and Spain, invest an above average proportion of digital spend into digital audio. This really kind of underscores the pivotal role that digital plays in the more mature markets. Yet, despite this impressive growth, audio advertising spend is still overshadowed by video and display budgets. Let's dive into the report to explore why there is this kind of disparity in investment and take a look at the opportunities that lie ahead for audio. Next slide. So the first question that we asked, and this was directed to the buy side, was about the proportion of total advertising budgets that are allocated to digital audio. First, referring back to the 2019 report, which is the second graphic on the bottom of the slide, a staggering 41% stated that none of their overall advertising budgets were being invested in digital audio. If we fast forward 4 years, this figure has improved by 38 percentage points, leaving only 3% now that aren't investing in digital audio. To add to this, we also see that 50% of our buyers now allocate more than 10% of their overall budgets into digital audio. I think these insights really indicate that audio is clearly establishing itself as a mature solution and one that's an integral component to modern day media plans. Next slide. We then asked respondents about their level of knowledge of digital advertising, and we found that sellers generally expressed more confidence in their capabilities when compared to buyers, and this was especially common when it came to planning. So according to our survey, 33% of publishers claimed to possess a lot of knowledge of selling digital audio, while 30% declared the same for planning and 24% for measurement. If we compare this to buyers, the majority of buyers indicated they only possessed some knowledge when it came to buying, planning, measuring digital audio campaigns. However, if we draw upon the 2019 data for comparison, we do see a significant improvement in knowledge levels on the buy side. In the 2019 initial survey, only 15% expressed any confidence in their understanding of audio operations. So while we have seen knowledge certainly improve over the last 4 years, it seems that a gap still remains throughout the industry. And I think this is especially obvious when we perhaps compare the knowledge of audio compared to other channels such as display and video. Next slide. So moving from the landscape into the leading devices and formats. Mobile remains the dominant device for reaching audiences across audio. So mirroring the findings of 2019, our 2023 survey also found that 75% of buyers expect to reach their audiences with audio ads via mobile. An even stronger story prevails actually with publishers, where 84% expect their inventory to be consumed on mobile, validating that digital audio is a truly effective medium to reach consumers on the go. If we just go back to the buy side and taking a look at how the other devices stack up, 47% expect to reach their audiences on desktop, followed by tablet, 44%, in-car, 41%, and then home assistants or smart speakers just behind those at 37%. I think the rising star here really is smart speakers. having undergone pretty much infinite growth since 2019, with 0% of respondents in our initial survey expecting to reach audiences via smart speakers. So moving into formats. The majority of buyers are primarily investing their audio budgets into streaming, 59%, and podcasts, also 59%, and then followed closely by online radio just behind those. However, from a publisher perspective, an impressive 68% state that they see most of their advertising dollars invested into podcasts. We all know that podcasts saw a surge in popularity during the pandemic, and it's clear that podcasts have since kind of solidified their position as a leading format in 2023. A good example of this is we see, the likes of Spotify, YouTube, and other large media houses continuing to bring focus to podcasts through investment, through partnerships, and through encouraging content creation. Next slide. So shifting gears, let's take a look at the key drivers behind audio investment currently. Our survey revealed that 65% of respondents identified complementing their media mix as the primary driving force behind their investment in audio. This really emphasizes the pivotal role that audio plays in omnichannel media strategies. In further support of this, we found that 52% of publishers stated the benefits of audio in complementing their omnichannel offering was a key driver. So as a medium that engages audience during moments when its more visual counterparts cannot, namely display and video, audio possesses the unique capability to both enhance media plans while also augmenting a publisher's offering. So omnichannel is the key driver for audio more broadly, but what about digital specifically? On the next slide. So when asked about the driving factors behind digital audio, buyers cited the incremental reach and innovative activation methods, so things like smart speaker ads and dynamic audio ads, were the key motivators. Interestingly, in third place were targeting efficiencies. Innovation has surged ahead of targeting efficiencies as a driver of buy-side investment since 2019. And I think this really reflects the channel's commitment to innovation and perhaps also the general kind of industry-wide pivot away from hyper-focused precision targeting as privacy centrism has become requisite to the way that we buy digital media. Similarly, with this diminishing reliance on cookies, alternative measurement solutions, such as incremental reach in this example, are clearly emerging as a top priority. And these kind of smarter and alternative ways to measurement are really aimed at proving the true value of digital audio without the use of cookies or other identifiers. So into our final section, and looking forward to the future of digital audio. As we have seen, audio is booming and the future is just as bright for digital audio. Our survey found that 2 in 3 respondents said they plan to increase their digital audio advertising spends in the next 12 months, with over 1 in 2 expected to increase these budgets by more than 10%. This number actually rises beyond 60% if we look at an 18-month window. So the sell-side perspective is even more optimistic, with 75% of publishers expecting their revenues that are associated with digital audio to increase over the next 12 months. So what is it that will fuel this growth? Next slide. So when asked to rank the top opportunities in terms of the potential to drive growth in digital audio, we found that 43% of buy-side respondents selected smart speaker interactive ads as their best bet. Dynamic audio ads and omnichannel activation completed the top 3, emphasizing the importance of innovation, creativity, and audio in a holistic media plan. On the other side, publishers are focused a bit more on supply logistics, considering broader inventory availability, optimized supply, and innovation in content and creative production, such as the use of AI, as the point where innovation and opportunity converge to create the most future value. Next slide. So we've covered a lot. I think there was a lot to kind of digest on the report. So before we introduce our brilliant panelists, I wanted to leave with a bit of a kind of distilled version of the key takeaways. These are kind of takeaways where the general consensus was found between the buy side and the sell side in our report. While I'm going through these, we have included the QR code for instant access to the report. In case you haven't downloaded it yet, you can do that while I go through these. So in terms of the key takeaways, firstly, growth is strong and the future is demonstrably optimistic for digital audio, and the vast majority of marketers plan to increase their audio investment moving forward. Secondly, mobile. Mobile remains the most prominent device, illustrating audio's ability to reach an engaged audience while they're on the go. Third, audio proves to be a critical element of a successful omnichannel media plan, catching the attention of audiences in a way that other mediums cannot. And fourth, the ability to drive and more importantly, to measure incremental reach. Buyers and sellers believe that this would unlock significant budget for digital audio as planners and publishers explore new ways to prove the true value that digital audio brings to campaigns. And then finally, in an age where the way we consume and that we create audio content is undergoing a profound transformation, smart speaker interactive ads offer an exciting opportunity for growth and innovation. I'll leave this up for a few more seconds in case you haven't got around to the QR code yet. But yeah, that's it for me for now. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Omri. That was really, really good. And yeah, thanks so much for the ending slide. I think that's always helpful just to have some key sound bites there. I know that we're going to get probably quite a few questions from the audience. So if anyone does have any, please do put those into the Q&A box and we can put those to Omri at the end. So at this point, let's welcome in Anne, Elsa, and Joachim for the panel discussion. We'll just check everyone is connected. Amazing. Okay, so Omri, back over to you for your panel discussion.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Helen, and welcome to all of our amazing panelists. I feel really fortunate to be able to moderate this panel with such a star-studded lineup of audio experts. I'll jump straight into the first question. If each person could kind of introduce themselves before answering, I think that's probably the best way to do it. Cool. So the first question is related to the report when we focused a lot on omnichannel. So according to our findings, 65% of European buyers consider audio's ability to enhance omnichannel plans as the top driver for investment. This is further supported by the supply side, where 52% stated the importance of omnichannel complementing their offering. First kind of question to kick us off, just wondered if you firstly agree with the kind of importance of omnichannel and also why audio is so important in an omnichannel media plan. Maybe we'll kick off with Anne, and yeah, please introduce yourself first.
Sure. Thank you, Omri. Thank you so much for having me on this panel. It's a pleasure to be here. So my name is Anne Boutier, and I head up the programmatic sales team at Spotify across the EMEA and JPAC regions. So to kick us off with that question, the answer on my side is yes, I absolutely agree with this, and it also very much aligns with our experience with buyers and partners over the past few years. We are seeing our kind of clients in market increasingly thinking of audio as part of their media mix, and I would say there are a couple of reasons that can explain that. The first one, and it was very well shown in some of the slides that you presented, Omri, is audio as a reach play, right? We know that digital audio actually brings significant incremental reach versus traditional TV, versus traditional radio, for instance. We did run a study this year with Nielsen, that's called the Mixer. So I encourage everyone to go and check it out to kind of understand the incremental reach that digital audio and Spotify in particular brings in addition to other channels in EMEA. And what we found, if we just zoom onto the UK, for instance, is that Spotify brings an incremental weekly reach of 23% versus commercial radio and 21% versus commercial TV. So I think the reach element is such a big reason for the growth we're seeing of audio within omnichannel. And then I would say the second call out on my side would be audio as a kind of contextual planning strategy. We know that digital audio is a constant companion throughout the day, and it allows for brands to reach users during the screenless times and screenless moments. And to me, that's very important, and it brings a very interesting complementarity to some of the other more visual channels, for instance. So those would be my two main call-outs, I would say.
Brilliant, Anne. Thank you so much for kicking us off. Joachim, maybe we'll go over to you next, if you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Joachim Nilsson Bostement. I work at GroupM Nexus, as you are. I'm a planner and specialist in audio video media, laying down the strategic and planning for all our audio campaigns. And I totally agree with the incremental reach. often when we lay down our media buying plans with the audio, we set the base with the FM radio, and we will add the digital audio because it gives an incremental reach. In Sweden, almost 55 to 60% of the podcast listeners do not listen to radio. So that's the main factor to bring to the table when we look at incremental reach. So
Brilliant.
I totally agree with your statement.
Brilliant, thank you so much. And Elsa?
Yeah, hi all, and greetings from Helsinki. I'm Elsa Kalervo, digital audio manager for Bauer Media Finland, and I completely concur with all that was said before. And as was stated in the report we just saw, thanks for bringing valuable information to the market. Audio is key also to complementing other media channels. And in another recent study, we found that when you include audio in your media mix, you actually get a significantly better return of marketing investment from all your channels. And I personally think this screams no-brainer, but just to elaborate it further, audio has been found to be the most emotion-provoking marketing channel. It burrows straight to our limbic system in our brains and calls up memories the way pretty much nothing else can. So it's very effective used in the right way and as a strategic piece of the whole marketing plan. And now I'm talking about audio as a whole, not just digital audio. But when you put the digital filter on top of this, it only strengthens the effect, as digital audio is very predominantly listened through headphones. So the marketer gets access to quite literally straight into the customer's head and gets to, whisper their sweet messages quite intimately straight into the listener's ears. And this is something no other media channel can provide at this rate. And of course, you have to have a strong creative and a strong message to actually make an effect in any medium. But this is probably something I don't need to stress in this company, that strong planning is the key. And as to the wider question of an omnichannel media plan, I think clearly all mediums have their strengths and their unique characteristics. And of course, you have to take that into account. You can't just rip off the audio from a TV ad and use it as an audio spot. Usually it doesn't work like that. But when you add the fact that audio ads are so cost effective to make, there's really no reason to not to add audio into the media mix. And when you have a good audio branding, that's very important to have a good, strong voice to your brand. You can and should utilize it in all ways possible. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on this one.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Elsa. I think, sorry, Anne, go on.
No, if I may add, sorry, just the last point on this, as we're talking omnichannel, I think one of the reasons why as well we are seeing so much more audio as part of omnichannel planning is because we're seeing more and more audio being transacted programmatically. And if you think of what's powering omnichannel today is very much the programmatic layer. And I would say the two are very much kind of moving forward together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I also find it really interesting that from both the buy side and the sell side, both kind of media planning KPIs are mentioned. So when we come things like incremental reach and return on ad spend, but also the effect, from an engagement perspective on the listener and how memorable audio ads can be. And I think the inclusion of audio in omnichannel media plans has really kind of led to the growth in recent years of audio, which brings us kind of nicely into the second question. So looking at the kind of growth and evolution of digital audio over the past couple of years, going through the report and going through the presentation, this was made quite clear. The IAB Europe's ADEX report also stated that digital audio was the fastest growing format last year, increasing over 22%. And our report showed that 47% of buyers have audio advertising as either their top or amongst their top media options. A simple question, why do you think that digital audio is growing so quickly, aside from the use of kind of omnichannel campaigns, and what are the key drivers behind this? Joaquin, maybe you want to kick us off?
I think the main part is that the digital audio is a multitasking device media consumption. When you listen to a podcast or streaming music or something, usually you are on the run, you are on a walk, you doing the dishes. So that's why it's increasing so much. You can't really watch TV and doing the dishes at the same time, or cleaning the house. So the digital audio is there with you throughout the day when you're doing other things than just sitting still and watching TV. The multitasking medium. That's why I think it's, and the inventory from all the podcasts, you can choose what type of interest you have. You can look it up. For me, it's football. It's so many football podcasts that I can listen to. For other persons, might be ghost podcast or something that drives their interest. So the inventory for our listening has been increasing year by year. So that's why it's increasing, I think.
Brilliant, thanks a lot. And Elsa, do you have anything you wanted to add?
I maybe wanted to add to the multitasking one, that it's you know, it's very rapidly growing. We are constantly doing more things at the same time. You know, for some people, it's even hard to shower without having some type of entertainment on while they do it. And us Finns, we have even gone so far as to have having to developing sound systems, especially designed for saunas, because, you know, why not? Nice to have your favorite radio or podcast host while you know, relax in the sauna, that they're with you there. And when you're looking at the alpha generation, who's now growing in our kindergartens and in our schools, they are masters at multitasking with a bunch of different medias on at the same time. So I see no reason for audio not growing in the future. Still, just like Joachim said, because multitasking is not going anywhere. It's here to stay. And I think also one of the main reasons for the growth of audio advertising market is that the audience has grown so quickly. Of course, you can't really have a growing market if you don't have a growing audience. COVID, of course, had an effect on people's media consumption all around. In-car listening and workplace listening naturally decreased and affected the traditional FM listening. But all this boosted digital audio listening quite a bit, and audiences also found new ways to use media, and many of us suddenly had more time for all this and to find more content. And of course, this created more content, and you know, the snowball just keeps on rolling. So we had a good surge thanks to COVID, silver linings and all that, you know. So that's also a big factor in the growth.
Absolutely. And what do you think about the Elsa mentioned the kind of increasing audience and also the kind of improving infrastructure? I mean, what about from a kind of Spotify perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would definitely have started there as well with the usage. We keep seeing audience growing on all audio platforms, Spotify included. And I think we're kind of seeing almost of a catching up effect that's starting now between the usage and the growth we've seen for the past few years, and now the media spend and how media planners are starting to think about audio as part of their plan. Because digital audio is now mainstream, and I think digital advertising on audio is also becoming a lot more mainstream. So that's for sure. I would say maybe a couple of other points to account for that growth. One would be, and Elsa, you've touched on that earlier, audio as an attention driving format. We know it's a formidable tool to open a one-to-one conversation with users, especially when they're using headphones. And I think this aspect of audio is increasingly being understood on the planning side, but also kind of documented by research that some of the largest audio publishers out there have run. And the second piece, I think, is touching on the creative side of things. There is a huge creativity opportunity that comes with audio. First, because producing an audio ad costs significantly lower than producing a video ad. So you can have almost like cost-efficient creativity. You can play with context. You can play with the different audiences. You can play with 3D audio, for instance, dynamic audio, which you mentioned, Omri, as part of the study. So I would say the creative appeal of audio is also becoming bigger and bigger, and that's being built up into the brand strategy earlier in the thought process. So that's helping for sure as well with the growth.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think that's really helpful. And also going back to the kind of multitasking bit, I think, as we saw in the report, the fact that 70% of users are consuming the audio content on mobile, I think feeds into that really nicely as well. So we kind of go from growth into the challenges. What kind of barriers and challenges exist currently, whether that's for brands or for clients or for buyers currently? And kind of as a collaboratively as an industry, how can we address these? Maybe we'll start on the supply side. Elsa, do you want to kick us off?
Well, I think especially coming from the supplier side, many of the issues and barriers on the buyer side, I think, still come from being a little uninformed. So adding education to the market is very valuable at this stage still, when digital audio is, even though already being a very established media and as Anne said, mainstream, on the audience's side, it's still somewhat a new one compared to the traditional medias on the buyer's side. And as the media evolves and technology evolves, it's vital to keep the buyers and clients very well informed on all the innovations and options we have going on. And of course, reports and webinars such as this help in this, but we need to be active on our side as well. And, you know, for us who work daily in this field, it can feel a little bit old news and it can feel like we've been singing this song for quite a while now. But we have to keep in mind that there are still a lot of brands and clients out there who have yet to try digital audio. And there might be a tendency to trust more the things you know and have already tried. So adding knowledge to the field, lighting the way forward, it's still very important.
Absolutely. And Joaquin, from a buy side, do you think that the challenges are similar?
Yes, we have one challenge, and it's with podcast and the native sponsorships. When we buy those, we mainly challenge is to see double coverage between two podcasts. If we buy two podcasts, we might hit the same people. And for now, it's there are any metrics to look into the double coverage in the podcast. So that is something that we have to address.
Yeah, so the kind of siloed supply and the measurement piece, the lack of ideas, I think is always going to be a common challenge. And any thoughts?
Yeah, I would join both of my co-panelists. I do believe we have almost of a fundamental still consideration challenge when it comes to audio, and this is where a lot of the education initiatives, such as like what the IAB is conducting, what we're conducting as publishers or platform is really helpful, and that's also our job to kind of convince and show the proof point that audio works as part of the media plan. I mentioned creatives earlier. It's both an opportunity and a challenge today. We still see a lot of brands who don't necessarily have audio creative at hand. And again, that's something that we're helping with, either by like actually producing the creative, sharing best practices, or engaging with creative agencies kind of ahead of time. We want to make sure that more and more brands are essentially building what we call the sonic identity and can really leverage that as part of their, again, omnichannel media strategy. And I think to Joaquin's point, the measurement side of things is still a challenge. There is an industry challenge to find a consensus on audio measurement. Spotify as well is coming up with some solutions. We've most recently launched Spotify Ad Analytics to really offer kind of a full funnel measurement solution to our buyers to understand from essentially brand lift metrics all the way to conversion and attribution, how audio moves the needle across music and podcasts. So we're taking initiative on the product side, but we're also very keen on working as an industry to solve for that.
So do you think that responsibility does sit kind of primarily with the supply side, or do you think it is more collaborative?
I think it's a collaborative exercise, but there has to be some technical innovation that in some cases comes from the supply side and some like proprietary first to market measurement solutions.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much. Cool. So moving into the kind of final section, the report revealed a very positive outlook for digital audio advertising, with 66% of buyers surveyed expressing their intention to invest more in digital audio over the next 12 months. As a kind of like final conversation or a final comment, what do you see as the future for digital audio over the next 12 months? Do you agree with the kind of predictions for growth? And which kind of innovations, whether they're kind of technical or creative, kind of internal or external, which innovations do you think are going to drive growth in the future? Elsa, do you want to start perhaps?
Yeah. First of all, I do believe that the prediction is very is probably correct. Let's say it like this. I don't have a crystal ball, unfortunately, so can't say for sure. But I see no reason why digital audio advertising and digital audio would stop growing now. We have just gotten started pretty much. But in a way that what will in the next 12 months change this industry the most, I strongly believe that generative AI will in many ways revolutionize audio, both on the content and on the commercial side. And it's a thing we should rather embrace and be highly curious about than to shun away and to be afraid of. Now we have so many tools to tell stories than we did a year ago, and the development is so freaking fast now. Now that in a year we'll have an exponential amount of tools at our disposal to make this industry even better and even more effective. And I think that the line that you sometimes hear, that AI will steal all our jobs, is at the absence of a better word in my brain right now, bollocks. But it's highly probable that the people who use and can utilize and can understand AI will eventually steal our jobs if we sleep on this right now. If we don't keep ourselves informed and educated and curious on all sides of the industry. So yes, to the question of the future of digital audio, as with some and many other media channels, is paved by AI in many ways. And in terms of audio advertising and all the possibilities it will offer in the future, this will offer us, among other things, pretty limitless opportunities. For example, targeting. To reach just the right people in just the right place and at the exact right time. And I think that's pretty exciting. Yeah.
Joachim, anything to add?
I agree with Elsa, and I think in the future we will see something when we're laying down a audio campaign with the linear FM radio and digital audio. They will probably make more of a suitable sound for the digital audio. For now, it's you use the same spot in the linear FM radio and the podcast. And traditional in FM radio is a high pitch spot to reach out and get the attention. But when you have the in-ear listening, you should probably get another type of spot. And I think that AI can be a helpful partner with you to create that type of spots. And I think looking at the investments in digital audio and podcast, I think it will change from native sponsorships and digital ad spots will increase even more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to agree on this. When we talk about digital audio, many people think of native podcast ads, but that's not the whole story. When we have a larger audience, we can sell more. The content is more scalable in a way that we can target just the right types of people, and also to the fact that digital audio brings us a new level of kind of like immersiveness just now, that we can do actually immersive audio spots, and the technology is there. It's not utilized that vastly yet, But when you have a a traditional FM radio, you can only do certain type of spots. When you have the headphones, you can do immersive spots, and then the sky is the limit to the creative. It's very engaging when you have the immersive sound system in your ears. So I think that will increase very much in the future as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes to that. And I think yes to more creativity for sure in the audio space, whether it's playing to your point with 3D audio or like dynamic audio as well, which is getting more and more adopted. I think overall on my side, that report fills me with excitement, and I agree with the outlook. I think we're going to see a lot more growth in the digital audio space as a whole. Part of it is going to be fueled by more automation. I think that's helping a lot as well. To your point, Joachim and Elsa, I think the ability of being able to serve one creative across platform in a unified way with like SEM targeting, deduplication, and kind of unified reporting is definitely going to help and kind of power the growth. We're also seeing more and more podcast inventory coming into the audio space as a whole and the programmatic space specifically, which is very exciting because we get kind of new buyers to test that inventory and understanding how this can fit into their broader media strategy. And I would say more broadly on the AI point, which had to be mentioned in this panel. We are at Spotify kind of playing with AI from a user standpoint. At the moment, you guys may have experienced some of our most recent features, such as AI DJ, or kind of the voice translation, for podcasts that's being automated as well, which we just tested recently. So it's in the user bucket at the moment, but how can we bring that back to like advertising at some point? To your point, Elsa, I think is also an incredibly exciting promise for the industry.
Brilliant. I think that rounds us off really, really nicely. I think in the report we did see how important innovation is for this channel, both when it comes to kind of technological aspects, or whether it's the use of AI, or whether it's the way that we activate, or the different devices that we use to activate on. And I think that was really nicely kind of summed up by all of you there.
So I'm back with lots of audience questions for you. Thank you so much for that really, really good panel discussion. And as you'll now see, it sparked lots of interest because we've got quite a few questions. So Omri, you're now going to join the panel because I'm sure that you're going to have some opinions on this. So I'm going to kick off and just kind of like start speaking away so we can try and get through as many of these as possible. The first one is, can you please elaborate on audience segmentation targeting capabilities for audio? How specific can we go in EMEA?
I'm happy to. Sorry, Annie, go.
No, go ahead, Emily.
I'm only going to kick off because I heard the word EMEA, and my role currently is focused on looking at audio in EMEA. I think it's interesting. I think the way that we target and segment users on audio can't be looked at in the same way as it has been for many years across display video and other channels, mainly because of the lack of IDs and identifiers that exist within audio. But I think this can be positive. I think as the industry moves away from a reliance on cookies, emerging channels such as audio and connected TV as well that don't necessarily use IDs in the same way that we have done before, it kind of opens up the opportunity to be creative with the way that we target users and segment users, whether that's the use of contextual or whether we put more time into understanding our audiences and the planning, and therefore kind of aligning the content or the specific genres really closely to the kind of specific audience that we're trying to reach. Sorry, Anne, you go.
Oh, that was, perfectly right. And I totally agree with you. I think there is a couple of ways to look at it, right? One is kind of almost a traditional way of segmenting audience, which we've seen on video and display, is kind of demo targeting, audience segments, etc., which is one layer that's available on audio today. The second one is contextual, which you've touched on. I think we've all said on the panel that because audio is such a constant companion throughout the day, it's a way to reach users at time where other medium are not able to do so. So the contextual kind of targeting element in audio is very important. And the last call out I would make is that we're seeing more and more clients, on particular on the programmatic side, overlaying their own data on their audio buy. And I think that's a key thing that shows kind of the maturity where the digital audio space is coming, that we have both like publisher data, third-party data in some cases, but also first-party advertiser data that's coming into play, which is pretty interesting as well.
Great. And then we've got a question here. So someone said, since we have got such a wide view on the panel from Sweden, Finland, and France, are there any local level nuances that they see in their market? So shall we go to, let's go to Joachim, let's go to Sweden first
What
of
was
all.
the question?
So just asking if there's any local nuances, any differences you see in your market compared to the rest of EMEA when it comes to audio consumption, audio trends, audio investment.
The main thing I was touching that with, we see the change of investments in native sponsorship is going down, and the audio spots is getting more of the investments in the digital audio, probably because when you buy just one podcast on native, you will reach not so many people, but if you go on the whole digital audio, you get a lot more reach, and you will have a more cost-efficient plan.
And then Elsa, what about in Finland?
Yeah, I read the question, read it as nuisances, but nuances. I think one nuance, and also maybe in a way also a nuisance, is that we are only 5.5 million people that speak the weird language we do here in Finland. So that is one nuance. Of course, some maybe technical developments using AI sound or whatever that will go somewhere else first, and then we will get it at some time. Of course, the development is very fast now that we will get it eventually, and it's going faster and faster. So maybe that is one. We touched on smart speakers that hasn't really broke out in Finland because the smart speakers don't speak our language. So that's one of the nuances that we have in here. I think it's in a way it's a strength, but it's also a weakness that we can do a lot of the things we do very locally, and it's very hyper local that we can do. But on the other hand, it's a small language area, so that comes into the play at some point.
That makes sense. And then Anne, over to you.
I think the one thing I would call out when it comes to audio advertising across EMEA is maybe the different penetration of automation as a way of buying, right? Because in some markets, we're seeing a high percentage of our audio activity being bought through programmatic pipes, and we're getting to like 45-50% in some cases, all the way to 20-25 in other markets, depending overall on the market maturity on audio and on programmatic specifically. So that would be the one difference I would call out.
Amazing. And then Omri, I've got a question for you. So this is actually a conversation that we've had many times, because when we were doing this report, I know that we were really struggling to find consumption levels for audio across EMEA. There's stats that exist for the US, and it's almost like the year of mobile, what we saw 10 years ago, when you see now that more people in the US are listening to audio than actually watching screens. But as we've seen, the investment just is not matching. There's this huge gap, big potential. So someone's actually said, do you think that the burnout desire to shift away from screen time has added to the increased digital audio consumption? And do you expect this trend to continue?
It's a really good question. And firstly to your point, Helen, about the lack of data around audio consumption on a regional level. I think just from kind of personal experience, and I think most people will agree that it definitely seems like the amount of time that's spent consuming audio due to the kind of on-the-go nature of it, and large shifts that happened during the pandemic, and more of a focus on podcasts, that people are generally spending a lot more time consuming audio. But the fact that this doesn't exist at a regional level yet, this kind of consumption data, I think says a lot to the kind of fragmentation of the supply, but also says a lot about the kind of maturity of digital audio. I think if we pictured like a maturity curve of digital audio and versus kind of display and video, there's no doubt that digital audio is still, you know, a very, very kind of nascent stage. So kind of to the question specifically around burnout and desire to shift away, I think it's a really, really good point, and I'd love to see kind of more research and data to kind of back this up. But there's no doubt that there is a kind of desire for people to reduce their screen time and the time they spend consuming video. And I think audio fits in kind of really nicely to that. And yeah, I'd love to see some data to support that moving forward as well.
Yeah, actually, to the panel, just have you got any kind of like studies that maybe Omri and I, when we've been doing our research, you've come across that even from your own organization that kind of is able to give an insight into audio consumption levels?
I think
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think we have data on obviously consumption on Spotify, but we don't have, to your point, kind of market level more wider. Yeah. One thing to add to the point that Omri made, I think audio is growing fast and probably is being fueled by people being fed up by screens, also due to the fact that the content that's now available on audio is so much better than what it was a few years ago. Like the offering is absolutely stellar. If you look at podcasts now, audiobooks that are coming as well, the music catalog. So I think as content gets better, it's also helping people like moving away from screens because they can find really interesting and rich kind of consumption outside of like TV and the computer, really.
Elsa, did you have a point?
Yeah, I was going to add that I don't have any specific study or information on the maybe fact that people have been kind of shifting their attention more to audio because they don't want their screen time to get out of hand. But I think that when there's a trend, there's always a counter trend, you know.
Yeah.
So in a way, video and streaming videos have grown so quickly in the past years. You know, we are seeing a counter trend as well. So that's, I think it's I don't have a study to back this up, but I'm pretty sure it's a thing.
Yeah. And Joachim, any thoughts from you?
Just one about the counter trend when we've seen the growth of the listeners to podcasts in Sweden. Last year it was 2.2 million listen weekly at podcasts. This year is 2.5 million weekly. So it will be interesting to see next year if it has gone up or gone down.
Yeah. I think absolutely onwards trend. So this one is a question around gaming. So to the panel, what are your thoughts on the current opportunities around audio advertising within games? Do you see adoption from the buy side and on the supply side that are actively exploring partnerships? And what does this medium need to do in order to continue growing? I don't know who wants to start off.
I'm happy to start off. Yeah, this is something we didn't actually address in the report and when we were talking about innovation, and I think that's purely due to the kind of nascency of the segment of gaming and audio. But I think there's no doubt now with, you know, a couple of new entrants to the market that this is a really kind of interesting area for investment. I think this is just from my kind of perspective as a buyer. The reason that we maybe haven't adopted gaming in audio as much as we should have done so far is just that kind of responsibility for where it sits within an agency. I think it's a bit of a divide as to whether it sits kind of more with teams that are activating gaming or whether it sits with activating audio. But I think as the supply continues to increase and you know, as more and more studies come out around the effectiveness of audio in gaming, I don't see any reason why gaming as a kind of supply segment can really kind of natively integrate into our supply as well.
Great. Any additional comments on that from the panel? No. Okay, so then we can move on, crack on to another quick question. So this one's very interesting. Obviously, sustainability. We know this is such a big hot topic in our industry at the moment. So they're just saying, do you see this conversation happening in the digital audio space? is it happening now? So maybe we'll go to Elsa first. I can see you're nodding your head.
Yeah, I think as far as locally, it's beginning to happen. It's something I think that we need to take into account, very much so. Also, we need to we need to realize that audio, as far as production and distribution and all that, is by far more sustainable than many other medias right now. So I think that we need really need, that's not a reason not to take that into account, and we need to have this conversation as we go on. But it is when you're thinking of a sustainable choice for your media plan, audio is right now is pretty sustainable already. So yeah.
And then Anne, any comments from you?
Yeah, definitely a huge topic for the industry, I think, in a wider way than just audio. So audio is part of it, but I would say the way we're looking at it for the moment is more so as like digital advertising as a whole, and how do we make it more efficient and more sustainable. I don't think there are specific approaches on audio just yet. I do agree with Elsa on the fact that it's kind of less, it's more cost efficient, it's more energy efficient, but from a creative standpoint. But I think it's more, we're looking at it from a more holistic standpoint than just audio specifically, at least for the moment, I would say.
Great. And then, Anne, I've just got a quick question from you. So how do you reach podcast listeners? Because someone said, because if I'm not mistaken, on the free version of Spotify, there are no ads while listening to podcasts. Is that correct?
No, so there are ads.
I thought so. Okay, so yeah.
On both the ad-supported, ad-supported users as well as subscribers are receiving ads on podcast. Yeah. On music, it's only the ad-supported tier.
Perfect. And then this is just a final question then to the panel. So on which type of industries would you say audio advertising is performing better? Are there any specifics to take into consideration when advising our clients? Omri, I'm going to go to you first, and then we can go to the ladies.
A really good question. I haven't really seen a specific trend when it comes to audio. I think, audio has grown a lot in recent years, and the content and the supply associated with audio is so vast now. I think that if you're smart with your planning and if you really understand your audience, there aren't really any limits where you can't reach any audience. I think the importance of creative and the way that you build your ad to really speak to your specific audiences is almost more important. There's no doubt that the supply exists, and there are ways to reach kind of any different audience.
Amazing. Elsa?
Yeah, I have to agree with Omri here. Nothing specific comes to mind, and I think that audio is something that everybody who wants to reach wider audiences and also niche audiences should consider when it's done smartly and executed well. There's no reason not to reach anyone you want to reach.
It's true. I found my new mattress for my bed from a podcast advert.
Exactly.
So there you go. And you wouldn't think a sleep mattress manufacturer. I think it's Anne, over to you.
Yeah, I think the way I would look at this question is not so much kind of industry or vertical specific, but more so from kind of branding to like performance. And I would say historically, audio has been sitting in very much the kind of branding bucket. And what we've seen over the past few years is that it's kind of moving down the funnel a little bit, mid-funnel all the way to some like performance KPIs as well, like from like conversion, attribution, etc. And that's kind of almost forced us to evolve as well, kind of the measurement solution we are offering to our users, and how we're thinking about audio as part of a like wider media strategy. So that my one call out would be expansion to other industry and verticals, sure, but more so from a kind of brand to performance type of journey.
Perfect. I think that last question ended this session so well. A big thank you to Omri, obviously, for the presentation, for working on this, to Anne and to Elsa. Joachim, I've just found out the laptop has died. So he unfortunately had to leave us a little bit earlier, but we've really enjoyed this panel discussion, and I hope the audience that joined us live today, just seeing from the amount of questions, I'm so sorry we couldn't get through all of these, but it was really great to have that live element and to hear all of your feedback on this. As mentioned, we'll be posting this recording up onto our website with a link to the report, and that will be emailed to everyone. And yeah, big thank you to everyone again, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. Enjoy your day. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.